I don't know how this is possible, but somehow Charles Wesley Godwin does not have his own video on this channel, and that needs to change.
Let's warm up these hardwood floors, and tonight I'll see you spin around.
Because Charles Wesley Godwin has been one of the most intriguing and dominant forces in the independent country music world since 2019, when his debut album Seneca blew everyone's socks off. And yes, sure, if you are a super nerd of independent country music, first off, you're in the right place. And second, you know that he actually got his start in Union Sound Treaty, this band, back in 2015, but we're not going to talk about that in this video because Charles Wesley Godwin as a solo artist has had way more success and seems to be a rocket ship taking off. For a few years now, I've been making the argument that the most exciting music and a lot of the outlaw energy of country music has been coming not from Texas and Oklahoma, where I would say owned it maybe 10, 15 years ago, but Appalachia. Places like Kentucky and Virginia and West Virginia, where Charles Wesley Godwin is from. And that's where his music feels like it's from. The subject matter of it is about coal country. It's about the lineage of his family that grew up in that area. It's about the mountains and the creeks and the natural world. And his voice has that deep fry that is just alive in the hollers out there. Oliver Anthony may be the bearded Appalachian everyone is talking about now, but in some ways he is the culmination of this movement that's been occurring for a few years. And in those few years, Charles's stock has been rising and rising and rising. Obviously, he collaborates with Bryan often. He recently signed a big record deal with Big Loud, and he's gearing up to release his third LP. And there's just a bunch to talk about, including 4 new songs, and I thought, we need to touch down in coal country with Charles. Before we get into it, let me talk about the sponsor of today's video, which is Rocket Money, which is a sponsor I really like because obviously I'm in a new house. Buying a house is complicated. There's so many things I've needed. You kind of get $100 to death buying like a weed whacker and a knife block and all these things. And Rocket Money has genuinely been very helpful for me in budgeting, in keeping track of my finances. Rocket Money, if you didn't know, is an all-in-one finance platform that helps you save more and spend less, and manage your subscriptions and lower your bills and so much more. It's a great finance manager. Now, they actually sponsored a video back in the spring, and I have continued to use Rocket Money, and it's so helpful to get a weekly recap of what my spending is and make sure I'm not going crazy, going to Lowe's too much. They also warn you if you have an unusually large transaction, and some of y'all know, this is kind of dark, but I got robbed back in the spring, like held at gunpoint and my stuff taken from me. The way I found out they were trying to clear out my Cash App account, which was linked to my bank account, was a Rocket Money alert being like, this is a weird transaction. And I was able to then call the bank, put a stop to that, and not get robbed of thousands of more dollars. Rocket Money also helps you cancel unwanted subscriptions, so you can look at what your recurring charges are and cancel an unwanted subscription with just a tap. It makes it super easy. You can set budgets, you can monitor your credit score, you can see how much you're spending. Basically, it helps you take control of your money. So if you want to try it out today and unlock even more features with premium, you can go to rocketmoney.com/Grady or click on the link in the description down below. That's rocketmoney.com/Grady. It's linked in the description. Thanks to them for sponsoring the video. And now let's talk about some Charles Wesley Godwin. Also, wait, before I go on, look at my tile. This was the weekend project. This green hearth. I love it. Should I just move throughout this video?
When the winter breeze tugs at your hair.
As I said, Charles Wesley Godwin's breakout moment was his album Seneca in 2019. If you scroll way back on my channel, it was actually my #2 album of that year, behind Heartache Medication. And this album is stark and stunning.
I'm going down to Charleston.
You actually can feel the echoes of the coal mines on songs like Sorry for the Wait. And thus far, all of Charles's solo music has been produced by Al Torrance, the same guy that produced this record, and is actually the leader of Charles's band, the Allegheny High. And they work so well together. I feel like he captures the timbre of his voice and elevates it and doesn't get in the way of it, and yet also isn't afraid of a powerful instrumental like you get on songs like Hardwood Floors, which starts off almost feeling brooding and cobwebby and turns into a whole barn burner with a giant fiddle solo. I was such a dork about Hardwood Floors that I'm pretty sure I'm like one of the first YouTube comments on it being like, this song is gonna smash in 2019, which, look, I still think it's gonna smash. Could still happen. It might not have happened in 2019, but it's gonna. Charles reflects a lot on the challenges of a company town and his family working down in the mines on this album, and that's a theme that ends up running through much of his music. As are simple declarations of love, like you hear on songs of his like Strawberry Queen.
Strawberry Queen for mine.
I was then trying to show you my little golf table. This is the best thing I found at Goodwill. In the early years of Charles, he was touring a lot with guys like Ward Davis. You might see him with Flatland Cavalry. Eventually, a Zach Bryan connection formed, but 2019, 2020 Charles was very much like an underground indie darling. In 2021, he released a stunning follow-up to Seneca called How the Mighty Fall. This album had that same sense of place and that same sophistication as Seneca, although this time I felt like Charles was telling a few more stories about other people. You got songs like Blood Feud, about some hilljacks feuding in West Virginia. And then you got songs like Cranes of Potter, where he imagined a centuries-old affair. Or tracks like Jesse, which has become one of the crowd bangers. I actually painted Jesse once. And this song is about him seeing some graffiti on a wall and kind of putting a whole backstory to it. And thinking how this girl must have spray painted this message to Jesse. And Charles somewhat coldly reflects, Jesse don't miss you, and neither do I.
Oh, Jesse don't hear you, neither do I.
But as much as there are moments of darkness on that album, there's also hope and resilience in songs like Strong. About encouraging people to be strong, to be like Steve Prefontaine and from an outside lane, come on strong. Or Temporary Town, which is a track about how he just wants to have his woman and a little piece of land and let the Blue Ridge Mountains wall them off and have this little temporary town and this good life. Those moments of hope and resilience have always made Charles's music stand out to me because there's a lot of sad boys out in the mountains thinking about how tough life is. And songs like that rule. I just made a video saying I love the song Rich Men North of Richmond, but that song is a lament. That is like a Psalm of David. You're screaming into the sky, being like, why am I forgotten? And there's a place for that. But Charles kind of takes that feeling and spins it into a vision of how life could be. And there's something when I listen to his music that makes me want to be a better man, a family man, a landowner. Like, it's these classic American ideals. And we're at such a time in history where that almost feels punk to me, to just like want a family. Whereas I feel like every other voice I hear is saying, I don't know, I don't want to start a family too soon, and I want time to travel, and I don't even know if I want kids or all that. Like, I feel like those are the popular narratives I hear about, and Charles is just like, no, I want all those things. And those are what life is about. And actually it matters that I remember my grandparents and stuff like that. There's such a rootedness to him. And yeah, How the Mighty Fall was also a great album. It was also my number 2 album of 2021. What was it behind that time? Oh, Mike and the Moon Pies, duh. Now, it was in this time that Charles was able to start touring with his band, the Allegheny High, who were mostly based out of Pittsburgh. It included Reed Connolly, who's been in my steel guitar video. He was sort of our spirit guide through the world of steel guitar. And I gotta say, they are one of the tightest bands in country music. The first time I saw them, I was very worried that it would overwhelm the simplicity of Charles's voice, but I've now seen them probably 10 times, and they've just gotten tighter and tighter and tighter. They have showmanship. They're not just kind of standing there being boring. They're playing. And it was also in this time that Charles struck up a friendship with Zach Bryan, which led to them touring together. And Charles has been playing in front of Zach as Zach has just been a rocket ship taking off to the moon. And they eventually collaborated on the song Jamie.
I'll go tonight, boys. I don't mean no.
Which was part of Summertime Blues. And I feel like we've been in this drum roll phase for about a year and a half now, where Charles is just kind of gaining clout. His numbers are going up. People are finding out who he is. They're diving into his music. They're loving his songs. Hardwood Floors is getting the clout it deserves. And all that led to him signing a deal with Big Loud in the first half of 2023. Yes, the same label as Morgan Wallen and Hardy is trying to get into this scene, which I think is cool.
When I'm with you, I pity all the kings of the world.
Now Charles has released 4 songs from his upcoming album, Family Ties, which is set to come out in September, and if history is any indication, will definitely be a contender for the album of the year on this channel. Of the 4 tracks, I think All Again is the focus track that they're going with and pushing to playlists and stuff, and it is a very, very pretty song.
Times are getting hard, good is getting rare.
Totally has that acoustic mountain sound, shows off Charles's deep, wonderful tone. I was thinking about that when I was out tonight. I said he had a deep fry, but I feel like I didn't focus enough on his tone, which is just this like rich, deep mahogany tone. And I've said he has a bit of a bleat in his voice, but he does have this sort of deep vibrato that just feels so mountainy.
Living on till we're old.
I think it's even better showed off on the track Family Ties, which is easily my favorite of these 4 songs, and I think a total classic.
Tied to the old ways of all my kin.
Because this song is like totally pleasant and totally harsh at the same time. And it's very much focusing on the history of his family and the future of his family that he's building. He sings sort of reflectively about his ancestors and his kin down in the mines. Then the chorus just hits you with this stark,
strike me down.
If I cut family ties. He's basically saying, if I ever turn my back on my family, strike me down. Like, I'm standing by the people that I come from and the people that I'm building a life with. And yeah, like I said before, there's something so punk about Charles's commitment to family. It's cool. But yeah, just the piano on this song, it's so tasteful, so gorgeous.
Tied down with a full heart.
And the way it builds into those big strike me down moments, which I've seen videos online, that's already becoming a big thing at his concert to scream that. It's just, I think, a stunning, stunning track. Q Country Roads is kind of going a little bit more of a rock direction.
Come on and take me home, Q Country Roads.
It feels almost like it would be the bumper music going out of like a SEC playoff game. And it's just about being out on the road and being ready to come back to West Virginia. And the kind of parlance for that in the song is Q Country Roads. And I gotta give a good word alert to the state flower of West Virginia, because I like the whole weird bridge couplet in this song where he talks about how he was gonna be a mountain mama one day and you can put a rhododendron on his grave. Rhododendron? Love it. And then the song West of Lonesome has a bit chillier of a vibe.
And I don't know what can be done.
I think it is Charles kind of role-playing as someone that is missing Anna Lee. I don't know that we have been introduced to Anna Lee as a character in the Seneca world, but he writes these songs like Cranes of Potter or like Jesse, where he engages in an imagination of kind of old world-weary travelers. And I think that's what's happening on West of Lonesome, though it's kind of the least exciting of the 4, but certainly very pretty. And I'm so excited to see what Charles does from here. Will he keep touring around with Zach all the time? Will they ever try to make a play for country radio? Will Hardwood Floors finally become the classic it deserves to become? Like, I sort of view Charles the same way I view Hardy, which is, I think they're in it for the long game. And I don't think they need to burn so hot, even though they are adjacent to the hottest burning stars that are in music right now, being Morgan and Zach, to really know who they are and just kind of run their own race and run it steady and plan to be around for a long time. And that's certainly what I think is going to happen with Charles, and I'm just excited to see. I'd love to know your favorite songs by him, why you love him, and I can't wait to hear more of his music in these next couple months. So that's it, y'all. Thanks again to Rocket Money for sponsoring the video, and I'll be back with more country content very soon. Bye.